What if I told you that one man once had the power to destroy the entire US economy with a single word? And in just a moment, you'll discover how he used that power to lock America's most powerful men in a room until they submitted to his will. But first, imagine being so powerful that when someone takes your photo without permission, you can have them arrested. This wasn't a king or a president. This was a banker with a disfigured face who controlled more wealth than the US government itself. His nose, swollen and red from a condition called rosacea, was so grotesque that he ordered every photographer to retouch his portraits. This man was J.P. Morgan, and his story would change America forever. Imagine being 14 years old and your father sends you to live alone on a remote Atlantic island. No family, no friends, just you and your books. Sounds cruel, right? But this treatment for young Morgan's seizures, migraines, and violent coughing fits wasn't just about health. It was preparing him for something bigger. For nearly a year, Morgan lived in isolation in the Azores, where the only things he could count on were the ocean waves and his financial textbooks. While other kids played outside, he studied business ledgers like they were comic books, mastering the language of money that would one day make him the most powerful man in America. At age 22, Morgan made a move so reckless it nearly got him fired. He spent his company's entire cash reserves on a ship full of coffee without authorization. The vessel had arrived in New Orleans without a buyer, and while others saw risk, Morgan saw opportunity. His father was furious. But here's the twist. Morgan sold it for a massive profit. This wasn't just luck, it was the first sign of something that would terrify America's business world. But just when everything was going right, tragedy struck. Morgan had just married the love of his life, Amelia Sturgis. Young and beautiful, she seemed to be the perfect match for the ambitious banker. But within weeks of their wedding, she developed a persistent cough. The diagnosis was devastating: tuberculosis. Morgan took her to the Mediterranean, desperately hoping the warm air would save her, just as the Atlantic air had once saved him. But 4 months after their wedding, Amelia was dead. Instead of breaking him, this tragedy unleashed something dangerous. Morgan transformed his grief into an unstoppable hunger for power. While other men fought in the Civil War, Morgan found a way to profit from it. He bought 5,000 rifles from the government for $3.50 each. Rifles considered too old to use. After minor repairs, he sold them back to the army for $22 each, a 600% profit. And that was just the beginning. By age 40, Morgan had spotted something nobody else saw. America's railroads were too competitive. His solution? Buy them all. Through a process that would become known as Morganization, he began devouring companies one by one, merging competitors into monopolies, with himself at the head of the table. In 1901, Morgan did something that shocked the business world. He bought Carnegie Steel for $480 million, equal to $15 billion today. When asked later if the price was too high, Morgan revealed something stunning. He would have paid $100 million more. Why? Because he wasn't just buying a company. He was buying control of America itself. He merged it with other companies to create US Steel, the world's first billion-dollar corporation. In a single deal, Morgan now controlled 2/3 of America's steel production. But now we reach the moment that changed everything. In 1893, America's economy was collapsing. The government's gold reserves had plummeted from $100 million to just $9 million. The dollar was in free fall. The solution? The US government had to beg a private citizen, Morgan, for rescue. In just 22 minutes, he orchestrated a deal that saved the American economy, selling $65 million in gold bonds. The price? His power over the nation grew even stronger. It's 1907. America is facing another economic collapse. Morgan, now 70 and fighting a severe cold, summons America's most powerful bankers to his mansion. But this wasn't a meeting. It was an ultimatum. He locked them in his library and refused to let them leave until they agreed to save the economy on his terms. Through the night, as Morgan coughed and sneezed, the bankers negotiated. By morning, they had all submitted to his will. The plan worked. The economy was saved. But America had just witnessed something unprecedented. One private citizen holding the nation's future in his hands. Think this is just history? Look at your wallet. Every dollar bill you own is touched by Morgan's legacy. That bank bailout in 2008? Morgan invented that playbook. His bank merged with Chase to create J. Morgan Chase, now the largest bank in the world with over $3 trillion in assets. And here's the scariest part. It's even more powerful than Morgan himself ever was. The truth is, Morgan's story isn't just about money, it's about power. When he died in Rome in 1913, he left behind a question we still haven't answered. In times of crisis, who do we trust to save us? The government or the banks that Morgan built? Because while Morgan died over a century ago, his shadow still looms over every dollar in your wallet and every bank that's still too big to fail.